3 minutes and 13 seconds in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Horsemen Hangout, the Macho Madness edition of the Horsemen Hangout. My name is Rue, filling in for Mr. Justin DiBiase tonight. Filling in for Mr. Justin DiBiase tonight. He is unable to host, so I have taken the reins. I've taken the Luther reins. I have taken the Roman reins, Michael Lanes, away from him. Our panel tonight, we have to my left, I have from the Horseman Hangout, Mr. Z, Anthony Zorzi. Z, how you doing tonight?
Oh, yeah, Ryan, I like your shirt there.
Yeah, that's right here. We got a Macho Man shirt. Thank you, Mr. Z. And Stephen also with us. Up. Stephen Page, how are you tonight, Stephen?
I'm doing good, brother. That's a great shirt you got on. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much there, Mr. Madness. You can see the madness here running wild through the Horseman Hangout here. And Mr. Lane, sir, back on television here. What do you back in the interwebs? What is it?
Well, I'm back on my MacBook Air. See, I was on the iPad last week. So, oh yeah, the Macho Man Randy Savage. Ready for tonight's show. Oh yeah.
Well, we might as well just kick it off with that, since this is the Macho Madness edition. It isn't the only thing we're going to be talking about tonight on the Horseman Hangout, but it is definitely what we're going to lead off with. The big announcement that finally, after years and years and years, got his last appearance in the WWE, 1994. The Macho Man Randy Savage, you can see right here. You can see him right here, in my hand, has been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, or will be inducted WrestleMania weekend. Any thoughts on this? Now save your thoughts on who is inducting him, because I'm going to unveil that, as we all know, in just a little bit. But initial thoughts when you heard that Macho Man was finally getting inducted. Mr. Lane, what were your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts would be, I heard about this news prior to probably hours and hours prior to the Monday Night Raw. I will not say who will induct him, but it was, let's just say, it was years and years and years overdue for the Macho Man Randy Savage to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I mean, we all remember his tragic death, which was very premature, back in 2011, which was awful moment in all of entertainment as it was, because, people even that did not even watch wrestling knew who the Macho Man was. And that was a good thing. The man entertained all entertainment, basically, all over the world of entertainment. Let's be real about it. But it's just long overdue that World Wrestling Entertainment's finally got it correct. The Macho Man Randy Savage will be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and I think he should have his own wing, the way I view it too. But long overdue. That's really it.
Mr. Z, I don't recall what exact year you started watching WWE. Was Macho still with the company when you began becoming a wrestling fan?
Well, when I first started watching wrestling, he was in WCW at the time. However, my dad was really into wrestling when he was growing up, so I had all the tapes like you guys had. So I had WrestleMania 4. The famous tournament where he wins at the end. So I watched a lot of his WWE stuff through my dad's video collection, and he was always a favorite of mine, whether it was in WCW or WWE. Everybody knows who Macho Man Randy Savage is from the Slim Jim commercials. He had that bit part in the first Spider-Man movie. And like Mr. Lane said, really, really long overdue. There's that crazy rumor, with Stephanie McMahon, and if it's true, more power to the Macho Man. But people say that that's why it took so long. Obviously, there was a falling out with the Poffo family and Vince McMahon, but it was long overdue, and he should have been one of the first people in the WWE Hall of Fame because he was essential to the popularity and growth of the company.
Yes, he was.
Steven, did your dad ever take you to a wrestling event where Macho Man wrestled when you were younger?
Yes, I got to see him. I don't remember. I believe it was right after WrestleMania 10, so it could have been against Crush. I'm not exactly sure. It was at the old Boston Garden. So I got to see the man perform, and he was a hell of a talent. He was, so charismatic. He was the cream of the crop, I guess, as you will. That's one of his famous promos. We were listening to it on the YouTube this afternoon. Just a guy, just was good on the mic. He was good in the ring. And for all intents and purposes, I know he was, labeled as kind of a little bit eccentric in his, how he acted by some people, but a lot of people liked the guy. So, more, I'm happy that Randy Savage is taking his rightful place in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I have to give him all the credit in the world. I mean, when I started watching wrestling, it was 1988. I vividly remember I was in second grade. Now, I knew of Hulk Hogan. I knew of King Kong Bundy prior to, but I really didn't start watching, Saturday mornings as a kid until 1998. And the two guys that drew me in, 1 and 2, were Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. And they're one and the same, honestly. The Mega Powers, that's what drew me in. Not only was it the characters, not only was their promos, but their outfits, the colors they wore, the flashiness, the way they both stood out. And Macho Man specifically, he was just so unique. There was never, ever, and there never will be another Macho Man. Segueing into my next topic, as I just said, the two that got me into wrestling were Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man. Moving on to Hulk Hogan, he is going to be inducting the Macho Man into the Hall of Fame. Very controversial selection. To people on the inside. Now, you might think, well, why is it controversial? I know for a fact, and people have said this, and I've heard in the past couple days people who have worked close with Macho Man, that Macho Man disliked Hulk Hogan throughout his entire career.
Usually.
That was a good one, whatever that. But he wasn't obviously. We remember the comical rap album that Macho Man put out in 2001, I think it was, when he had challenged Hulk Hogan to a real fight. And after that, they had some words. Apparently, before Macho died, they did make amends. I don't know how the amends went. I don't know to what extent that was. I can pretty much safely assume that they're not best buddies. Is this a slap in the face? I mean, Mr. Z brought up the fact that the rumor is that, I'm not going to go into detail, but there might have been some sort of mutual relations with Stephanie McMahon as a young teenager, I believe 17 or 18 years old, and the Macho Man before he left in 1994. Is that enough to hold a 20-year grudge? I don't know. A lot of people say that isn't the case. The reason why there was grudges and why it's gone this long is because of the way Macho Man left. Hogan left for WCW, and then Vince never thought that Macho would go too. Well, Macho went too for the money. I don't know. I don't really think that's the reason. The more I think about it, the more I think that this is because of the deal with Stephanie. And Anthony, I just want to get your take on it. Is this, a signing, or maybe he volunteered Hulk Hogan to induct Macho Man? Is this genuine, or is this a way to say, hey, okay, we'll induct Macho Man, but we're gonna have Hogan, the guy that you hated, induct you? How do you see this, Mr. Z?
What I think, as Hogan has gotten older, he still has a bit of an ego, but I kind of think he's softened up. There were rumors out there that years ago now, when he was out of the business, he admitted himself in interviews that he thought about committing suicide, and people had to talk him down and stuff like that. I think he's changed a bit. I think the stuff with Warrior last year, people said that was all for the camera. I don't think so. I think it was genuine. I had also heard, Rue, that they had made amends. I heard a story about how they were in a doctor's office, and Hogan walked in, and Macho Man happened to be in there as well, and that's how they kind of made amends right before Macho Man's death. I don't know how true that is, but
I
really
was on Talk is Jericho. He was on Talk is Jericho, the podcast on,
and that's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he
I
said
really
on there. He said he busted open the door and he was like, "Ooh, Hulk, what's going on?" or something like that, and I don't
okay.
know. He also said that they, went and did I believe they had a barbecue at Macho Man's house or something. They kind of made amends for all, whatever had happened between them. That's what Hulk claims. I can only
Mr.
take it for face value. I
Yeah.
wasn't there.
I respect Mr. Z's opinion, and honestly, I don't know what to believe, and I respect what was said on Talk is Jericho. Mr. Lane, if it wasn't Hulk Hogan, who could have I mean, that's a tough question though. I mean, there really isn't anybody other than Warrior, and Warrior passed away. Who would actually induct Macho Man? I mean, who? Mean Gene? I mean, Mr. Lane, what are your thoughts on
I
Hogan?
think I think this is an obvious answer. Why not his brother? I mean, his brother was a wrestler too. He
Well,
was.
I think just not to cut you off, but I think his brother will probably be accepting the award.
Yeah, I think so. But I just think what it would have been. Maybe I'm just debating who could it be? Maybe George the Animal Steel could have been Ricky Steamboat. Maybe Ricky Steamboat and Savage arguably had one of the best wrestling matches of all time at WrestleMania 3, where a lot of people were hyping Hogan Andre, but then
Yeah, and
really,
that's very valid. And here's the thing, though. I've heard. I mean, obviously, I haven't been backstage, but I've heard from a lot of people who have been backstage that Randy was a very private person, and even though he had classic matches with Ricky Steamboat and Rick Rude, he wasn't very, very close to people. I mean, he was close to Elizabeth, he was close to Warrior. I believe he was close to Mean Gene, but he wasn't really like a real sociable kind of. He was definitely a good guy and friendly, but he never really made too many close friends. So I don't know. But it'll be interesting, though.
If they go the WCW route, I mean, I don't know if they would use him on TV at the Hall of Fame, but there's Sting. Sting worked with him for a long time in WCW. It's just a possibility. But just to piggyback on the Hogan thing, I really think they're kind of handling it with kid gloves. And if Hogan wasn't genuine, I don't think he would have agreed. I don't think Vince would have let him do it, and B, I don't think Hogan would have agreed to do it. Just because Hogan's ego is still there. It's softened a bit, like I said, but if Hogan still had a grudge with him, he wouldn't do it.
right.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I will say, on top of everything, this should have happened. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago when Macho was alive. I mean, it's really ridiculous that it's taken this long. I mean, the guy was retired. He's the only guy that never come back. He never. I mean, Sting. Well, Sting never was there, but Brett came back. He's the only guy that never came back, and really should have happened when he's alive. So.
Right.
He was so underrated too on commentary. Towards the end of his WWE reign, he was great on commentary.
Stephen Page, rate Macho Man on commentary. One being sucky, 10 being the greatest.
Well, I don't know if he was the greatest, but I think he was good. I think, like anybody, they have those kind of lines that make you laugh, and sometimes they piss you off, but, if they're, kind of working heel on commentary, that's their job to do that, to piss you off. And, I think Macho Man was very good, and, I've always enjoyed his work.
Very good. All right, thanks, guys. We're moving on just a little bit. I want to briefly touch upon, I mean, Macho Man is, the main inductee, I would say, but, in years past, when the main inductee is unfortunately deceased, they try to get another somewhat big name, or as big as they can, to be there, because they want someone to be there to be inducted physically, because, Macho unfortunately passed away in 2011. You guys, who are your picks for the rest of this 2015 class? Mr. Lane, are you thinking about maybe potentially Mark Henry going in this year?
That's a good question. You know what? I would like to say this name, but I don't know if WWE will allow him to.
You're gonna say Scott Norton.
No.
You're gonna say Saba Simba.
No, I was thinking more of a wrestler that passed away way too soon. I was thinking a couple of the nominees, but I don't think they'll do it if it ever happens. One I think would be one lady wrestler. I was thinking it would either be China or Ivory, one of those two women. those two women can wrestle. I think I was watching some videos on Ivory. I don't know if y'all remember the Ivory character back in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I do.
You remember Ivory Z, or do you remember Ivory there, Steve? I thought she was an excellent wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she was a very excellent wrestler. I know she worked in, I think in Glow, because I know they did a documentary on Glow, and I saw that a few years back. She was part of that, so I think she should be considered in the WWE Hall of Fame. The woman was a great wrestler. And another one, and I don't think he'll be in the Hall of Fame for a few more years. I kind of wish that Owen Hart would be in there too in the next few years. I think Owen Hart would be excellent.
I totally agree with you, Mr. Lane. It's really sad because the only names that come to my mind are deceased wrestlers, and that would be 1, Owen Hart, and 2, Rick Rude. Rick Rude definitely needs to go in. But I mean, Macho's deceased, Owen's deceased, Rick Rude's deceased. They're not going to induct 3 big names that are all deceased in the same class. Mr. Z, do you have any idea of who else is going to go in this year? Is there any rumors? Have you heard?
I haven't heard any rumors, but I have a name. I don't know if, given his most recent situation, they'd bring him in. I did read today that the charges were dropped, but Kevin Nash.
That's interesting. I mean, like, normally I would say absolutely, I agree with you, but nowadays with WWE's walking on eggshells, PG corporate crap, they might distance themselves from Kevin for like a year. Now they already like next Monday is a Raw reunion show or something. Hogan's going to be there.
Hall's going to be there.
Nash was the reason I brought that up was Nash was originally supposed to be there, and he said go home because the whole situation. So that's lame. But I agree with you. Kevin Nash should go in, but I don't think it's going to happen.
The minor guys, I think I think Owen Hart will definitely go in soon. I don't know if he'll go in this year because, like you said, he's deceased. Obviously, Brett will do his induction. But they always throw some minor guys and some older guys in there. But I mean, eventually, because Triple H run the show, I think X-Pac will get in. Eventually. But there are like minor guys that you can throw in there for filler.
Right.
Guys that had good careers. Like I wouldn't put a guy like a Wildman Mark Marrow in there, but I would put a guy like in there. I mean, I don't know if a guy like Ken Shamrock is deserving, but they're like those mid-card guys that you might put in there.
Yeah. Stephen Page, who do you think will get inducted? Could it possibly be the manliest man, Mick Busick?
No, you'd have to work in the WWE for that to happen. But I had a few names I was going over in my head. They usually do, kind of the format is kind of the same. A tag team, a managers. And I was looking at the managers, and you have most of them that are already in there, Classy, Freddie Blassie, the old-timers. And then you have Jimmy Hart, who's already in there. But the only 2 that I could come up with for managers-wise is a guy that I don't know if Vince would put him in because of his stance on the current product, and he trashes it on a weekly basis on his own podcast, Jim Cornette. And another guy who's already currently in the company, Paul Heyman.
Well, those are 2 quality names you just brought up there, man. Very good.
Yeah, I'd like to think that Paul Heyman will go into the Hall of Fame when Mania is in Philly.
Okay, yeah, that would make more sense. You're right.
What do you guys think about as far as tag teams? What do you guys think about the New Age Outlaws?
I agree. That's you might have hit the nail on the head. I think they definitely should go in. They were a big part of the big part of the Attitude Era, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. They were. So yeah, they deserve to.
Yeah, they went away and they ripped the company a lot, but then it seemed like they made amends. They had another run as tag team champions, I believe, a little over a year ago, and I think they're still involved with the company, both of them. So I think that they'll be a Hall of Fame guys, and eventually. I don't think they'll do it this year, but because of obviously Macho Man's the headliner, but Taker's going to go in within the next 3 years, and you got to think Jericho will probably go in shortly too.
I'm going to say a controversial name that y'all might disagree, but I have to say, I don't think the basis of Hall of Fame has to be on world titles or things like that. I think impact on the Federation and impact on the specific era that you wrestled in. And I honestly think that because of the originality of a character and the time when he came in, pre-Attitude Era, almost a pre-Attitude Era attitude type character, I think Goldust. I think eventually Goldust will go in for his contributions to, he wasn't the best. He didn't accomplish, a whole heck of a lot, but character-wise, I mean, back in 96, 97, he really broke the mold and set the stage for the Attitude Era. This is my opinion. Mr. Lane, thoughts on my controversial statement of Goldust going in?
You know what? That's an interesting curveball of a name that you just brought up there too. I think Goldust did turn the company. He was a character that got people talking about the WWE product without a doubt, and he would do a lot of crazy things that people wouldn't even dare to do with his character. So yeah, I could see you saying Goldust. I think that's a very interesting name that you just brought up. So I think that's a very, very interesting name for Goldust, man. I mean, that's very interesting. Yep.
I do remember Mr. Z dipping a Goldust doll in soda once.
It was at Pizza Hut, and Sting will go into it in the next couple of years.
A little bit too inside, I know. Too inside, I know. All right, guys. We're going to hit trivia real quick, and then we're going to get to the NFL Roundup. Macho Man trivia this week. What I want to do is I'm going to go around the horn. We're going to go Lane, Steven, and then Z. If you guess it, well, you get the bragging rights. Trivia question is, and like I said, Lane first. We're going to take turns. We're not going to shout it out. Mr. Lane, without Googling, who eliminated the Macho Man Randy Savage in the 1992 Royal Rumble?
These are good trivia questions. I was going to say Earthquake. That's probably my only guess.
All right, very, very excellent guess, but I'm going to move on before telling you if you are correct or not. Mr. Page, who eliminated the Macho Man Randy Savage in the 1992 Royal Rumble emanating from the Knickerbocker Arena in Albany, New York?
I'm going to say, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
He did win it that year. That's another excellent guess. Mr. Z, any guesses on who eliminated the Macho Man Randy Savage?
I'm going to say Mr. Perfect.
Mr. Perfect. All right. And the correct answer is, going along with the Macho Man's character, he eliminated himself that year. He ran in the ring like a madman, ran after Jake the Snake Roberts, eliminated Jake Roberts, and then jumped over the top rope and eliminated himself in the 1992 Royal Rumble. No one wins this week. No one wins at all. Yep. I suggest that you guys watch that on the network, which is $9.99. Yes, $9.99. I've been watching. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I'm stalling. I want to get to the NFL. I know you guys want to vent about the playoff tree, but
hold on. I'll be right back. Y'all can talk for a second. I gotta wash my hands.
All right. All right.
That was a rather weird moment.
Okay.
In any event, I've been watching, I don't know about you, Steven and Z, but I've been watching just to get ready for a week from Sunday. I've been watching some old Royal Rumbles just to get me in the mood. Steven, have you watched any old Rumbles this week?
I actually watched the Royal Rumble 2000. I watched the whole event.
Oh, that's right.
Now, when you watch an event, do you just go to the Rumble match, or do you actually watch the whole event?
It depends on it. Like I watched, I put in a couple Rumbles, like 93, I think, or 94, and I watched some of the undercard matches. One year, great match, crappy finish, but it was Marty Jannetty against Shawn Michaels. I think that was 93. I don't think I've ever seen that, and I watched that back. But for the most part, yeah, I try to fast forward to the Rumbles because that's why I'm watching.
What was the crappy finish on that one?
What was what?
What was the crappy finish on that?
The finish was, if I remember correctly, I think Sherry Martel. I think there was a ref bump, and then Sherry Martel got involved. It kind of killed it.
Right. Good old ref bump. Let me guess, it was Earl Hebner.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Lane is back, and Mr. Lane and Mr. All right, Biscotti, give me a second. NFL Roundup, guys.
Hold on, Brian. Before you get into that, Mr. Lane, can you do your promo for tonight's sponsor?
Oh yeah, we forgot to do that. Mr. Lane, do the promo sponsor.
Well, we're sponsored tonight by Orville Redenbacher popcorn. That was the popcorn I ate on my New Wave oven, which was actually very, very good. So it's sponsored by Orville Redenbacher. And our second sponsor is 7-Up. As the old adage goes, you remember the old slogan, 7-Up yours. 7-Up. Caffeine free.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is. I don't think too many people remember that 7-Up yours. That was like a '90s slogan.
Hey, it was recent though. All right.
All right, Mr. Lane. By the way, Mr. Lane, I had texted Mr. Z or someone. I don't know who I was talking about. I was wondering. I know you were in high school. You were a huge WCW fan, and obviously the shift happened when WCW fell. WWE rose up. When did you stop watching WCW, Mr. Lane? Did you stay ship?
Well, I think it was right after 1999. It was like around 1999, you know, when they were showing the Hogan Nash match at on Nitro.
Yeah.
The very first Nitro of '99, that was it, because that was the last straw. Their fingerprint poke of doom, whatever the heck it was called. I thought that was a disgrace. That was a disgrace to sports entertainment. It was a disgrace to wrestling.
So you jumped ship.
Yeah, well, I jumped ship after right after that Nitro in the first Nitro in '99, because Goldberg wasn't being used. The Nitro show was from the Georgia Dome, which is technically Goldberg country when you think about it.
Right. Now, prior to you jumping ship, how long did you stay ship with WCW?
Well, I watched WCW for a good 3-4 years at least.
So you stayed ship for three years. You were on that ship.
Yeah, you could say that.
You stayed ship for that long. That's impressive, and that shows that your loyalty towards the Turner Network.
Yes, it does.
When you stayed ship.
Yep. Hold on, I'm just writing my NFL.
All right, guys. As Mr. Lane
Denver
writes
Broncos, who won't be going to the ship.
Well, that's correct there, Mr. Stephen Page. We're going to get to that in just a minute.
Well, I think I'm going to start it off with Mr. Z, if he's ready, if he has any few words. I mean, obviously, the big news coming out of this weekend, Mr. Z's beloved Cowboys have been, I believe it was this weekend.
We were eliminated the same week.
Whatever day it was. They were eliminated. Broncos were eliminated. Mr. Z, it was a good season for the Cowboys. A lot of controversial officiating. Would you like to speak on that?
Let him have the floor.
Obviously I'm very disappointed that we couldn't win on Sunday. I thought we had a great chance to win the game. That controversial play involving Dez Bryant. If you've watched football at all in your life, you know that was a catch. I don't care what the rule book says. It's the ref's interpretation of the rule. The man caught the ball, had 3 steps, extended with his hand to the end zone. That's a catch. That's a football move. Obviously the Cowboys got kind of screwed, and I don't want to make excuses, but that really cost them the game. But they hung with Green Bay. Green Bay is undefeated at home for a reason. They got the best quarterback in the league, although he was a little hobbled, and they were right in there. Tony Romo had a great game. He had a great season, so the whole Tony Romo's a choker thing can finally be put to bed, because he's not the reason why they lost. Very, very pleased overall with the season. Just wish it ended a little bit better. And before people say, oh, it's the same as the Calvin Johnson play, it's not the same as the Calvin Johnson play. Calvin Johnson caught the ball in the end zone. There's nowhere else for Calvin Johnson to go. He's in the end zone, whereas Dez Bryant caught it at about the 7-yard line, continued to take 3 steps, and then extended towards the end zone. And then people will also say that it's karma for the week before, because the Lions got screwed, which is incorrect, because the Lions didn't get screwed. I'll just throw a few things out there. The Lions, when that controversial call happened, there was 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Lions were winning that game. That was on 3rd down when that call happened, so the Lions still had an extra down to go as opposed to 4th down for the Cowboys. The Lions then let the Cowboys take the lead which if their defense played better, they wouldn't have lost the game. And then the Lions had not one but 2 chances to win the game, whereas the Cowboys' season ended on a horrible call by the referee. But again, I don't want to, I don't want to make excuses. It was a bad call. It was a catch, and I'll go to my grave saying it was a catch. And like I said, if you watch football at all in your life, you know that was a catch. And if you want to be one of those people, those Bible-thumping or NFL rulebook-thumping apologists, you're wrong, because if that would have happened to your team, you would have been just as upset as I was on Sunday. So that's all I got to say about that.
Mr. Lane, your comments.
Well, I will be 50-50 with Z, basically, because I only saw part of the game. I don't know if you all saw my Facebook page personally. I was at Chipotle, by the way. I was at Chipotle eating some burritos. So I was at at a local mall. I was taking care of some
What were
business.
you eating?
Chipotle, Mr. Z.
No. What do you get, Chipotle?
Oh, what did I get? Oh, I got a pulled pork burrito, mild salsa, some beans.
I had heard they stopped selling pork at their restaurants. Is that true?
What's that?
I had heard today that starting today, Chipotle stopped selling pork at their restaurants.
Well, I haven't heard anything about that, but it was one of their because I know they have like four different like meats that they sell: steak, chicken, just to name a couple of them. But I as far as, and I was letting Z have the floor, quite frankly, but point of it was, it's 50-50. I thought when I saw it first time on live television that it did look like a legit catch. However, it was a smart challenge, I think, on the part of Mike McCarthy to take a chance. It looked like the Cowboys were going to win that game. I was looking at the score when I was looking at the television monitors. It looked like the Dallas Cowboys were going to upset the Packers for a little while, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. So, but and as far as my Broncos are concerned, it was terrible. I thought it was a terrible performance, but I will give Andrew Luck and the Colts a little bit more credit because Denver had an excellent defense, but they did an excellent job of protecting Andrew Luck really most of the game. They did an excellent job there. Andrew Luck was able to find some holes in the Broncos zone, made some plays. He didn't go for like the deep ball. He took what the Bronco defense gave him, which is what he did. And that was it, And then I hear about Peyton Manning's injury. He was playing with a torn quadricep muscle. But let me tell you something. Yes, the Broncos lost John Fox to the coach. Yes, they lost Jack Del Rio to the rival Raiders. I get that. However, I think the offensive coordinator for Denver will be the coach, and number 2, Peyton Manning will come back. Those are my bold predictions about the Broncos. Now, may I do my Super Bowl prediction, Mr. Rue? Can I do my Super Bowl prediction?
I think we may all do our Super Bowl prediction. You first, Mr. Lane.
You want me to do the Super Bowl prediction? Here you go.
Right.
In the AFC, I think it's going to be an epic encounter between the Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. I have the Seattle Seahawks winning the NFC Championship, probably by a field goal, and they will face. And who do you all think they'll face? A lot of people at my workplace have been saying the Indianapolis Colts, but having said that, I think it's going to be the Patriots. I think the Patriots beat the Indianapolis Colts by about 10 points. I think the odd makers have it a little bit wrong. I think it's going to be Seahawks and Patriots in Super Bowl 49. That is my prediction. I'm sticking with it. It's going to be Seahawks, Patriots in Super Bowl 49. It'll be the mother of all upsets if the Indianapolis Colts can win in Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Well, I am cutting the camera too. That is Stephen Page, and I am seeing a Patriots logo right there.
He's a Patriot fan. Look at him. He got his Patriot logo. That's the team that'll represent the American Football Conference, as far as I'm concerned.
Good old Pat the Patriot right there. Yes, Pat the Patriot.
Pat the Patriot. He'd be a good wrestler if he ever got in the ring.
And they have 2 solid targets. They also have Gronkowski, who some say is the best tight end in all the NFL when he's healthy.
The best tight end, not is. Some say he is.
No, he's not.
Is the best tight end.
No, he's
Yes,
not. No, he's not. The most complete and best tight end in football is Jason Witten.
Witten!
Gronkowski only is good in the passing game. No one blocks, no one catches, and no one runs like Jason Witten.
I would put Antonio Gates ahead of Jason Witten, with all due respect, Z.
Mr. Lane,
Jason
Mr. Lane,
Witten is his own right.
Jason Witten has more receptions and more yards. He's second all time.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Jason Witten is a solid tight end in his own right. But I'm talking about Gronkowski. Gronkowski is very vital to that Patriot offense.
But I'm talking about, but best, he doesn't do everything that Witten does, so he's not the best tight end.
And another target that I also have to bring up also beyond Gronkowski is they got Edelman, their wide receiver. He's a very solid wide receiver for Tom Brady as well.
And he can be a quarterback too.
Yeah, they did that trick play, which Baltimore Ravens were absolutely furious about. The Ravens were furious about that play, but to me it looked good.
God can shut his mouth.
Yeah, it was a legal play. Patriots will pull some tricks out of their hat too. Patriots are known for doing that. They'll do that stuff.
Isn't that the reasoning behind the NFL? Isn't that to fake out your opponent to make them, what's the word I'm looking for?
To exploit their weaknesses.
Exactly, and that's what the Patriots did on the play.
That's right.
Well, Mr. Steven, I think you've said you think the Patriots are going to win this. Mr. Z, thoughts on the Super Bowl?
My prediction is the same as Mr. Lane's. As far as the games, I don't think they're going to be close, actually. I think the Patriots are going to roll. I think they're going to roll right over Indianapolis. And I don't think Green Bay stands a chance against Seattle. All right, well, I mean, they're 10-point underdogs, which is a big number, but Aaron Rodgers wasn't himself in that Dallas game. Everyone saw that. And the Seattle defense is so much better than the Dallas defense. And plus, winning in that building, the Seahawks are great at home. I think the Cowboys were the only team that would have had a chance to beat them because they already beat them once.
They did beat them in Seattle. You're correct.
And Aaron Rodgers hasn't proven he can win a game there. He's lost his last 2 games in Seattle, and I think Seattle's going to roll in. And quite frankly, I'm still a little bitter about last week, so I hope they kick the snot out of Green Bay.
Oh my goodness! Well, I was going to say that in the NFC, I expect this to be an epic encounter. I expect this to be a close game really throughout. I think the NFC title game is going to be very close. I think Hauschka kicks a field goal at the end of regulation, and I think the Seahawks go to the Super Bowl for the 2nd straight year. Now, as far as the AFC Championship is concerned, I think Andrew Luck's going to make some mistakes. I think because you're going to have to play perfect football against the Patriots. If you turn the ball over against the New England Patriots, you will pay. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter if it's Denver, doesn't matter if it's Dallas, doesn't matter if it's the Eagles, doesn't matter if it's an NFC team, whoever. If you turn the ball over against New England, you're going to pay.
Brady makes them pay every time.
That's my point.
When he comes onto the field after a turnover, he usually makes them pay pretty good.
That's my point because, see, you're going to have to play perfect football against the New England Patriots in Foxborough. Foxborough, in its own right, is one of the toughest places to win in all football. It's extremely very tough to play there and win there. That's my point.
No, I don't normally pray for snow around here, but I'm praying for some snow on Sunday.
Oh, really? Okay. Because if Andrew Luck throws, you know what? I think he'll throw probably 2, maybe 3 interceptions. That's my personal prediction. And another X factor on that Patriot defense, and I have to say his name, Darrelle Revis. He's now a Patriot. He's made your defense better. I mean, let's be real. He's made that defense for the Patriots better. I think he's one of your better corners probably since Ty Law. I don't know if you remember Ty Law because he was one of the best corners. He was one of the best corners probably in the history of your New England Patriots by far. Because I guarantee you, when Manning was with the Colts, this was 10 years ago, when the Patriots were winning Super Bowls. I remember when Peyton Manning threw like 3 interceptions. I think Ty Law caught 2 of them, and the Colts only scored 3 points. And they were a great team that year. They were an excellent football team, but they only scored 3 points, and he threw 3 interceptions. And that was one of his worst. That was one of Peyton Manning's worst games ever at quarterback.
Excellent points there, Mr. Lane.
Thank you.
And Steven and Mr. Z. Next up, guys, we're going to be wrapping it up shortly, but we have a few more segments to get to. First up is Mystery Rumble Theater. Mystery Rumble Theater. Every year at the Royal Rumble, there's always some mysteries, some mystery men, mystery women even sometimes that enter. Oftentimes it could be Big Daddy Cool Diesel. It could be Jimmy Snuka. It could be Hacksaw Jim Duggan. It could be the King again. Who knows who could be in this year's Royal Rumble? I'm going to give the opportunity, guys, for you guys tonight, since next week is the Santino lottery drawing or something like that, give an opportunity to pick one mystery man, and we're going to find out the week after the Rumble who was correct. I'm going to go with my mystery man, and I'm going to go with Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hacksaw Jim Duggan is going to be in Philadelphia. He's going to be there. He's going to give us the glare, and he's going to say, got a thumbs up from Steven. Hacksaw is going to be in the Rumble. He's going to do well for himself, and then he's going to get eliminated by Rusev. That's my opinion. Mr. Z, do you have an opinion on a mystery guy that's going to show up in Philly?
Yes, I do. I believe he's already going to be in town. And I think he was a mystery guy a few years ago. He entered number 2 overall, and that would be Chris Jericho. I think will be in the Royal Rumble this year.
All right, Chris Jericho. Stephen Page, make your pick. We're going to find out if you're right in 2 weeks.
I don't have I don't have this guy, picking it down to the elimination that you did with yours. But Jake the Snake Roberts, I'd like to see Jake.
I would love to see that, and that was something that he wanted to do for a year or so now, and more than a year, and hopefully that can happen, and he can take that bump over the top rope, more importantly, or that fall over the top rope, whatever you want to call it. Mr. Lane,
Yes.
what's any predictions on a mystery entrant?
You know what? That's a good question. I was gonna say Roddy Piper, but I'm probably wrong on that. I was hoping it would be one of those guys from the Legends House show that
Right.
could probably make an appearance on that show. I think Steve. I think is on the right track. I think Hacksaw would be a great possibility, but I'm gonna go on the limb and say Piper, Roddy Piper. I mean, he still has his own Piper's Pit that he still does. Maybe he can entertain a little bit at the Rumble. I don't know, but it's just a name that I thought I'd throw out there. Roddy Piper.
It is now time, ladies and gentlemen, for Promo Mania. This week's Promo Mania has a theme, similar to how we started the show, and I heard about 3 Macho Man impressions. We are going to get 4 Macho Man impressions. We'll give each person a chance to do their own Macho Man impression. And, Christ's sakes, you know what? Well, there has to be a judge. I didn't think this through. We'll have Mr. Lane. Oh, Mr. Lane was already got the beard. Mr. Lane taking on Stephen Page. Mr. Lane,
Yes.
taking on Stephen Page, taking on Mr. Z. I will be the judge. Give me your best Macho Man for like 30 seconds to a minute. Up to you. 30 seconds preferable. I'm going to start with Mr. Lane, then we're going to go Page, then we're going to go Z, and I will be the judge of who is the best Macho Man. Yeah, thinking, Mr. Lane, go.
Oh yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage. I'm the 2-time World Wrestling Federation champion. I have my Miss Elizabeth. I had my sensational Sherry. I finally married my high school sweetheart. I'm now retired from professional wrestling. Oh yeah. I passed away too soon. I wish I was with you all. I wish I could be in the WWE Hall of Fame in spirit. Oh yeah. Dig it!
Ooh, that read like a Wikipedia article. Very good. Very good, Mr. Lane. Stephen Page, are you ready for your Macho Man impression this week?
Oh, yeah. Y2 Juicy, even though he's not here. He's absent. He's at Villanova. He's slapping it to a Slim Jim. Maybe he's slapping his Slim Jim in the bathroom. I don't know. But I'm finally going in the Hall of Fame, brother.
Oh my gosh. Oh my.
Okay, Dorsey, you go.
All right, very good, Mr. Page and Mr. Z. I would say they were very worthy of chuckles, and hopefully Mr. Justin is not slapping his Slim Jim in the Villanova bathroom right now.
He very well could be. You know, those Villanova guys are a little.
Yeah, they tend to do that, those fraternity boys. All right, Mr. Z.
Oh yeah, the Macho Man, too sweet to be sour, the Tower of Power. I'm here. I'm gonna tell all you, especially you there, Mr. Lane, sir. I'm going in to the WWE Hall of Fame, and I'm coming for you, Mr. Lane, because the Macho Man, when he gets his hand on you, I'm gonna snap you in half. Can you dig it?
Cool. Hold on a minute, I gotta do this. Z, you deserve a round of applause, man. That was good. Well done, man. Well done.
I'm a mark for Frozen Lane.
Well, he was calling me out. I had to freeze for a minute there, so why not? I had to.
You like that song?
Don't read Mr. Lane.
Well, no, this is tough. Well, I would say on content, definitely Stephen Page would take the gold. But overall, I think Mr. Z this week, you're going to take home the crown. That was my most entertaining. Can we get some applause for Mr. Z? Somebody?
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah, we need your sound effects guy. Mr. Z has one promo mania with his Macho Man, but I have to say, honorable mention, I popped for the Slim Jim comment, Mr. Page. That was pretty funny. All right, guys. Before we get into our final thoughts, I believe there was one more segment I had on our run sheet, or our go sheet, as I like to call it, and that is the topic. Really quickly, I want to touch on this really quick because this has been a kind of a controversial thing. I don't watch SmackDown. Maybe this week I will because it moved to Thursdays. Probably still won't, but maybe I will. Last week on SmackDown, apparently, now I didn't see this, but apparently Roman Reigns had a pre-tape interview in the back where it basically was awful. And apparently it was scripted by Vince McMahon himself. So Vince is scripting, apparently, word for word, every word that comes out of Roman Reigns' mouth now. Is it going to be every pre-tape? I don't know. He had the legendary catchphrase of "Suffering Succotash." If Vince McMahon thinks at 70 years old that "Suffering Succotash" is going to be put on T-shirts, I don't know. I mean, is Vince out of touch? Does he want Roman Reigns to have an element of humor like The Rock because he's Samoan and he thinks he's the next Rock? Mr. Z, what do you? I mean, like, I know you didn't watch it. If I didn't watch it, you didn't watch it. But I mean, just hearing this story, what are they trying to do with Roman Reigns? Are they trying to micromanage him, or what do you think?
Well, we were talking about earlier when you were having some computer problems and we were off the air. Steve said that, and I missed Raw on Monday because I was at the Flyers game, that he had another horrible promo on Raw. And I remember what you told me about Vince scripting his promos. I don't know. I don't think scripting a promo is going to make a guy's presentation any better. He's going to have to get better by himself. And as he continues to get better, the delivery, the content will get better. But some guys just don't have it. And guys don't have it? I don't know. But I don't like the direction they're going with the character.
Totally agree with that. And before we get to the other two panel members, I will say that in my memory, be it 80s or 90s or 2000s, there has never been a wrestler who has gotten to that upper level character-wise that has not been able to talk on their own. Austin, Hogan, Flair, Savage, Piper, Rock,
Michaels,
Triple H, Michaels, Cena, Triple H, Foley, everyone has been able to talk on their own without having to be hand-fed and memorized lines. So you can take that for whatever you want, Roman Reigns. Sorry. Stephen Page, what do you think about the situation with Roman Reigns?
I don't know. I still think if Vince is scripting his promos, I don't know if this is supposed to be lured towards kids and he's trying to make this guy, the next, kid role model, but Roman Reigns doesn't look like a kid-friendly type of character. He looks like that guy that would go out there and rip your throat off and, rip your head off and shove it up your ass, apparently,
That's an excellent point. I mean, I'd go as far as to say if I was in charge, he would be a top heel, let alone your smiling babyface, top babyface.
Talking about magic beans and Jack and the Giant Beanstalk or whatever the hell he's talking about.
Yeah, great points, Mr. Lane. Your thoughts on Roman Reigns and how they're grooming him? Obviously, I mean, let's face fact before I get to you, Mr. Lane. The reason is because they are grooming him for that top spot. I mean, he's scheduled to win, and I hate to burst people's bubbles who want to be surprised with their $9.99 they're going to spend, or if you're going to go to the Red Vet in Philly. Roman Reigns is scheduled to win the Royal Rumble. There's a rumor that Brian might, and I'd like to see Brian, but the original plan was for Reigns to go on and be the next man to beat Brock, blah, 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 predictable crap, the end. Mr. Lane, and that's the point of all this, micromanaging, obviously. Mr. Lane, what do you think about Roman Reigns and this whole, is he ready for the next level, and is this the real deal, and what do you think about, like, really, what do you think in general about Reigns?
What do I think about it? Let me play some sound effects here. Tick tock, crickets, and then you have some drama with his promos that we just discussed. But here's my comments on the thing. Let's see if he is ready to win the Royal Rumble and maybe win the potential World Heavyweight Championship. Daniel Bryan, I know the fans love Daniel Bryan still. I mean, he can capture an arena even despite I know he was injured last year, but having said that, he can, the fans will still do the yes chants. They were doing it on Monday Night Raw. It was still a beautiful sight to see still, after he had won the World Heavyweight Championship on WrestleMania, and I mean he was, I just think it boils down to Daniel Bryan or Roman Reigns. We'll see. It could boil down to those two guys, for a potential World Heavyweight Championship spot, because we don't know. Now, I was going to say, the Rumble ain't for another couple more weeks, right? I think we could talk about the predictions on next week's show, maybe?
Yeah, next week.
Next week.
Rumble talk.
All right, fair enough.
All right, very good, very good. Moving on before we get into our final thoughts. Well, you know what? Let's just jump into our final thoughts. Stephen Page, give me your final thoughts. Any thoughts on anything? We didn't talk about TNA this week. They had their debut on Destination America. They did a .46. What the hell do you think they're going to do on Friday nights if they did a .46 on a Wednesday? Come on now. Stephen Page, give me your final thoughts. If you want to talk about TNA, you can. If not, I really don't care, because TNA can – I feel for them, because I was a big TNA fan, and I'm going off topic here. And maybe this is my final thought. Okay, this is my final thought.
Go ahead with your final thought.
Yeah, this is mine. Then I'll go to Stephen Page. I'm sorry, Stephen, my creation. I'm sorry, my creation. What in the heck do they think they're going to do if they're doing a .46 on their first night live, and they're going to be taped on a Friday night on Destination X? They're not even going to do a 3. I don't think they're even going to do a 3. Like, I really feel for them. I feel for the wrestlers. I don't feel for the office, because they're morons. They really are. And it's just a matter of time before I don't know how much longer they can go if this next phase doesn't work. They have a lot of good wrestling. They have a lot of good wrestlers, but the overall show is still lacking, and the ratings are suffering, and that's not good. So, I don't know. I just think the TNA needs to pick up their game, as does Mr. Tito Santana, El Matador, who needs to pick up his game and enter the 2015 Royal Rumble and maybe take on a hologram of Randy Savage. Mr. Lane, call the action right now. Hologram Randy Savage.
Randy Savage against Tito Santana. They're locking up. Savage looks like he's in control. And then they lock up Savage with a power driver or a suplex. It looks like a suplex on Tito Santana. Now, what is he doing here? Looking like the Macho Man Randy Savage himself slams Tito Santana
Here we
to the
go. Here we go.
canvas. And he's off the top rope and down with the flying elbow. The cover. 1, 2, 3. And the Macho Man beats Tito Santana. Oh my, what a match. What a match. What a match.
Stephen Page, your final thoughts. Go.
As you said, TNA really needs to step up their game. I read an article today that they're trying to be more, go away from trying to be an alternative to WWE. I guess they're trying not to be an alternative. I don't know. I didn't really get the gist of the article. But, you know, they had, if you didn't watch it, they basically had a heel faction. MVP added more people. He added Samoa Joe, Eric Young to his stable. I don't know what they're trying to do here. They're just doing a heel faction, and this is just getting old. You know, heel factions in TNA. It's starting to become everybody has to be in a faction in TNA, and it's just, I don't know, getting a little sick of watching it.
Yeah, I think I echo those sentiments. So hopefully they can turn it around, but not in that time slot, kids. Mr. Lane, what's your final thought?
Well, my final thought is, like I said earlier, it'll be the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots in the 49th Championship Super Bowl of the world.
Mr. Lane, I'm gonna before we get Mr. Z's final thoughts, I'm gonna say something shocking, and then you're gonna freeze. All right, here we go. I think that the Atlanta Braves are gonna finish in last place in 2015.
About injuries, see 12 skaters and a backup goaltender for 13. 1 and 5 on the ice, but they're short by 1, and that would be Scott Walker.
Mr. Z, your final thoughts for this evening.
We have a holiday coming up on Monday. Hope everybody enjoys their Martin Luther King Day. I have jury duty on Tuesday, and can I just say how much jury duty sucks? I know it's our civil duty, and it's our right as Americans to have a trial by a jury of our peers. This is the third time in 3 years that I've had jury duty, and this time I have to go to grand jury duty in Camden, which is the second most dangerous city in America. So jury duty sucks, and it can bite my balls.
I echo those sentiments. For Mr. Z, for Stephen Page, for myself, I'd just like to say thank you for joining us, and good night. Ooh, yeah. Later on, gentlemen.